Is PayPal intentionally stereotyping Africans by limiting certain features? This is a question that I've been asking for some time. For years, Western aid donors have flooded the continent with billions of dollars, but the results on the ground have seemingly been invisible to an ordinary eye. The donors' approach to helping the continent so it can deal with its socio-economic woes has been lacking to a greater extent. Money sent to the continent ends up in the hands of the corrupt and selfish players while making little impact on the intended beneficiaries. When you do basic auditing on the ground, you get to realize that the methods being used to help the African continent are not translating into desired results as you would expect. It's important to appreciate the fact that what is going to change Africa is not necessarily the few dollars sent to the continent, but there is a need to redefine a new approach. It's time to look at Africa as an economic partner and as well as a potential market for investors who have always excluded it in their circles for decades. It starts with changing the damaging stereotypes about the African people and prioritizing inclusion of the continent into the global economic architecture that will provide it with more opportunities to compete. I think that the African people are not dying to be given handouts, but they want to have access to the same opportunities people in the West enjoy. This is something that most Western aid agencies have ignored for decades. Africa is home to diverse cultures and it's a continent with over 1 billion people, but lack of access to better opportunities has impaired its economic transformation and development. The ability to have limitless access to opportunities is what makes countries like the United States great. This means people being able to find jobs and money and take care of their needs. If you live in a country where it's not easy to find a job or access to cheap capital is limited, your life will be messy however educated you are. So, in a continent full of young people, their economic struggles have become the order of the day. And this is why some of these young people end up embarking on dangerous journeys to illegally enter America or Europe as immigrants. I am a firm believer that creating access to better opportunities in the third world has potential to act as a buffer against illegal immigration in countries like the United States, Canada, and Europe. When people in the third world have better opportunities, they don't need to embark on these dangerous journeys. But again, Western policymakers don't seem interested in redefining a new approach when engaging with the continent. Africa continues to be hindered to tap into global opportunities as its economic potential is despised by global players who have the resources to unlock its doors. American and European investors are either reluctant to invest or they rely on their stereotypical interpretation of the continent to ignore it. But you would be wondering, why am I saying all of this? PayPal is one of the largest online payment providers in the world. Annually, its payment processing volume is in hundreds of billions of dollars. While PayPal allows African users to send payments or pay for online goods and services, on the other hand, they don't allow the same African users to accept or receive payments. PayPal doesn't give any justification as to why they don't allow African users to receive payments using their platform, and yet they allow sending money without any limit. Many African entrepreneurs are so frustrated that while they want to start online businesses, there's a lack of better platforms that allow them to effectively tap into the benefit from the global online payment network. Yes, there are existing players like Flutterwave, but these are either operating on a limited basis or they are just in the startup phase, which makes them vulnerable to public mistrust. Honestly, there's not a better and reliable solution you can explore at the moment. Flutterwave is still in its infancy and hasn't sophisticated its payment processing API integration for everyone to use. Another annoying thing about Flutterwave is that it doesn't allow on-page payment checkout functionality. If you had an online buyer, they would have to be redirected from your site you use to sell products or to a Flutterwave checkout page so they can complete the payments. The extra steps in the process frustrate customers and even create a feeling of hesitation and suspicion. Frankly speaking, the African digital market is underestimated by American and European investors because of the stereotypical understanding of the continent. Many are stuck with the view that Africa can't offer a substantial market capable of offering a good return on their investments. And this is why they keep ignoring the African people while completely shutting their doors that would have helped the continent to tap into global opportunities like easy mobility of capital and scalable market access. In 2020 alone, remittances to Africa were almost $100 billion. Companies like World Remit are reaping big through remittance transfer fintech business models on the continent. But there is still a bigger problem for e-commerce ventures that struggle to integrate and accept online payments using Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. The lack of inclusion in the global financial sector is problematic for the continent. PayPal's continued reluctance to allow African people to accept online payments seems like unintentional exclusion. Yet, incorporating the African continent into the global online payment network can help the average poor to tap into more opportunities. And I also know that PayPal has potential to work out a framework that allows online entrepreneurs on the continent to accept payments. It's time to stop interpreting the continent from stereotypical angle, as it's damaging to the African people who are trying to find opportunities so they can help themselves. Looking at the continent as a potential market is far more transformative than sending out a few dollar checks. Stripe, another American fintech corporation, has avoided the continent, but they have been pretending to invest in pseudo fintech startups like Paystack that are not scaling to the level you would expect. This is not a good speed in any way. A wise man once said, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.